Welcome to Stamps Old World UK, the place where stamp collectors, history enthusiasts, and philatelists from all corners of the world come together to appreciate the beauty, rarity, and value of postage stamps from a bygone era. Today, we'll explore a fascinating stamp that may not be worth a fortune in dollars, but holds a wealth of cultural, historical, and artistic significance. We're talking about the 1977 Deutsche Bundespost Europa stamp, a striking German issue with a denomination of 40 Pfennig, released as part of the annual Europa series. This stamp is a brilliant example of mid-century European philately, and in this video, we'll uncover its history, its meaning, its role in stamp collections, and of course, we'll assess its market value today in US dollars as of 2025. Whether you are a beginner collector or a lifelong philatelist, this in-depth exploration will give you not only the facts but also the appreciation for what makes this stamp a true gem from the old world. Let's begin by examining the design and historical context of the 1977 Deutsche Bundespost Europa stamp. Issued during the height of the Cold War, this stamp is more than just an artistic depiction of a highway through the German countryside. It symbolizes European unity, progress, and infrastructure development at a time when the idea of a connected Europe was still in its formative years. The stamp features a sweeping autobahn cutting through a stylized mountainous landscape, a metaphorical representation of Germany's post-war reconstruction and engineering prowess. It's rendered in crisp, clean lines, reflecting the design language of 1970s European modernism. The words, Deutsche Bundespost, sit elegantly at the top left, marking it as an official product of the Federal Republic of Germany, or West Germany as it was commonly known at the time. The word Europa runs vertically down the green margin to the right, indicating its place in the European Conference of Postal and Telecommunications Administrations, commonly known as CEPT. Every year, member countries of CEPT released Europa stamps under a shared theme to promote unity and cooperation across the continent. In 1977, the theme was Europe's infrastructure and interconnectivity, a subtle but powerful message that despite political divisions and geographic barriers, the nations of Europe were working together to build something greater. For collectors, the Europa series has always held a special place. It represents not just the identity of one nation but the shared aspirations of an entire continent. And because these stamps were issued in large quantities across multiple countries, building a complete Europa collection has always been a satisfying and rewarding challenge. Now, let's talk about the market value of the 1977 Deutsche Bundespost Europa 40 Pfennig stamp. As of mid-2025, the typical market price for this stamp in mint never hinged condition, meaning it retains full gum on the back and has never been affixed to an envelope, ranges from $1 to $3 US dollars. This price may seem modest, but it reflects the fact that this was a widely circulated issue. On the other hand, used copies, meaning they have been postmarked or cancelled in regular mail, are valued slightly lower, usually between 25 cents and 75 cents US dollars. However, the story doesn't end there. In stamp collecting, context matters. A single stamp may be inexpensive, but as part of a complete Europa 1977 set, especially when housed in a well-organized album or mounted professionally, the combined value can increase significantly. And if the stamp is part of a pristine, well-preserved German collection covering the 1970s era, its role in telling the broader story of post-war German philately becomes even more vital. In addition to monetary value, there is intrinsic value, and that's what truly excites passionate collectors. Philately is not just about pricing, it's about storytelling, historical relevance, and cultural connection. This particular German stamp from 1977 allows us to glimpse into a very specific moment in European history. It speaks to the era's optimism, its belief in technological progress, and the role of infrastructure in fostering peace and economic growth. For collectors who specialize in German stamps, Europa issues, or thematic collections focused on transportation and engineering, this stamp is an essential component. It bridges the past and present, helping us understand how the Postal Service used art and symbolism to communicate powerful ideas during a time of transformation. What makes this stamp particularly interesting in today's collecting landscape is the renewed interest in mid-20th century European issues. While ultra-rare classics like the penny black or the inverted Jenny still capture headlines, there's been a noticeable rise in demand for high-quality, clean, and thematic issues from the 1960s to the 1980s. These stamps are accessible to beginners, nostalgic for older generations, and academically rich for those who study political and cultural movements. The Europa series, because of its recurring themes and multinational coordination, is one of the most collectible subsets within European philately. And because each participating country issued stamps with the same concept but different designs, collectors often enjoy assembling a diverse yet thematically unified set. If you're watching this and thinking, I have a stamp album in the attic with similar German stamps, now is the perfect time to take a closer look. Examine the gum, the centering, and the condition. Does it have any perforation errors? Is it part of a complete Europa set? Is it postmarked with an interesting date or location? All of these details can increase the appeal of your stamps. Even if the 1977 Deutsche Bundespost Europa stamp isn't worth hundreds of dollars on its own, it plays a valuable role in the broader ecosystem of collectible stamps. And for serious collectors who want to build complete albums by theme, country, or decade, having this stamp in mint condition can be a must-have piece. As we look toward the future of philately in the digital age, stamps like this one serve as historical anchors. They're reminders of how people once communicated across borders, how governments expressed ideals through printed art, and how even the most routine object, a stamp, could carry messages of unity and vision. Collecting such stamps isn't just a hobby. It's a preservation of history, design, and international cooperation. With the ongoing rise of online marketplaces like eBay, Hipstamp, and Delcamp, as well as digital auctions and philatelic exhibitions, the visibility and liquidity of even mid-range collectible stamps are increasing. That means stamps like the 1977 Europa issue are more accessible than ever, and potentially more valuable in the hands of informed collectors. So whether you're collecting for passion, investment, education, or nostalgia, I encourage you to explore the Europa series further. Learn the stories behind each year's theme, compare designs between countries, and build a collection that reflects not just philatelic beauty but cultural resonance. And remember, the joy of stamp collecting often lies not in the value of one stamp but in the narrative that emerges when many stamps come together. Each one is a voice, and together they tell the story of our world. Next up, the 2021 Serbia Europa stamp, featuring the majestic Saker falcon, also known by its scientific name, Falco cherrig. This is not just another bird stamp. This is a celebration of Serbia's natural heritage, part of the prestigious Europa stamp series issued by member countries of Post-Europe, with each year dedicated to a common theme. In 2021, the theme was Endangered National Wildlife, and Serbia's contribution came in the form of this exquisitely illustrated falcon. In this video, we will uncover the story behind this stamp, its artistic and symbolic value, and of course, its market price in US dollars today. Whether you're an animal lover, a bird-themed stamp collector, a philatelist focused on Eastern Europe, or simply someone who appreciates intricate stamp design, this episode is tailored for you. Let us begin by appreciating the visual and symbolic impact of the stamp. The 2021 Serbia Europa stamp captures the Saker falcon in stunning detail. The bird is perched alertly, its feathers rendered in warm earth tones with a lifelike intensity that speaks to the artistry behind this issue. In the background, we see a natural rocky landscape, likely representing the falcon's native habitat across the Balkan Peninsula and Central Asia. The falcon's intelligent gaze and poised stance instantly draw the eye, making it one of the most visually engaging Europa issues of that year. Above the bird is the text, Ugrožen nacionalni divlji vrst, which translates to Endangered National Wild Species. The Europa logo is proudly displayed, aligning this stamp with a broader European initiative that encourages the preservation of wildlife and cultural heritage. Now, the Saker falcon itself is an important and symbolic choice. This bird of prey is considered one of the fastest and most powerful falcons in the world, and it has long been revered in Serbian and Central Asian cultures. Historically used in falconry, the Saker falcon is now classified as vulnerable on the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN, Red List due to habitat loss, illegal poaching, and environmental threats. By featuring this endangered species on a postage stamp, Serbia not only contributes to international awareness but also underlines the importance of conservation efforts in the region. For philatelists, stamps like this one aren't merely pieces of paper, they are educational tools, conservation messages, and miniature works of art that reflect a country's values and natural pride. As a Europa issue, this stamp was part of a coordinated release among dozens of European countries, each contributing a stamp based on the same theme, endangered wildlife. Serbia's falcon entry stood out for its high-quality illustration and the clarity of its message. Europa stamps have always had special prestige in philately because of their transnational themes and artistic merit. Collectors who specialize in Europa stamps often aim to acquire the full yearly set from all participating nations. The 2021 edition, with its focus on threatened animals, has proven to be especially popular among both thematic collectors and wildlife enthusiasts. So what about the current market value of this Serbian stamp? As of 2025, the 2021 Serbia Europa Saker Falcon stamp has an average value of between $2 and $5 for a mint, never hinged copy. In pristine condition, particularly if still attached to its original miniature sheet or first-day cover, the value can increase slightly, sometimes reaching up to $7 or $8, depending on the demand in online marketplaces or collector auctions. Used copies, particularly those with clean cancellations, generally trade for around $1 to $2, making them affordable but still valued due to the significance of the subject matter. Limited edition variants or full sets of 2021 Europa wildlife stamps from multiple countries can sell for much higher, particularly if they're presented together in a professionally mounted album. However, the true value of this stamp goes beyond numbers. It represents a growing trend in philately, the blending of environmental awareness with cultural storytelling. As the world faces growing ecological challenges, more countries are using their postage stamps to draw attention to endangered flora and fauna. Collectors now actively seek out these issues, not just for their visual appeal, but also for the causes they represent. Stamps like the 2021 Serbian Falcon are now being included in exhibits, school projects, and conservation campaigns, showing how philately can play a role in education and advocacy. Let's also talk about artistic value. This stamp was designed by the Serbian artist M. Vlahovic, known for her precise illustrations and nature-themed compositions. The level of detail in the feathers, the naturalistic colors, and the realism of the habitat seen all demonstrate the evolution of modern stamp design. In the past, many stamps were flat and symbolic, but this issue shows how contemporary stamps can rival fine art. If you're a collector of wildlife stamps, bird stamps, or Eastern European philately, the artistic excellence of this stamp makes it an essential addition to your collection. As a broader market trend, bird stamps continue to be one of the most collected themes worldwide. From the early bird issues of British colonies to modern European commemoratives, bird-themed philately attracts a wide range of collectors. The Saker falcon, as a majestic and rare bird, holds appeal across cultures and continents. Its inclusion in Serbia's 2021 Europa stamp has ensured that it will be remembered and sought after for years to come, whether mounted individually or as part of a Europa set. This stamp adds depth and beauty to any thematic or regional collection. And if you're new to stamp collecting or considering entering the world of philately, the Europa series offers an excellent entry point. It's accessible, affordable, and educational. Each year's theme introduces you to a different aspect of European identity, from folklore and architecture to wildlife and technology. By starting with recent issues like this one, you can gradually build a thoughtful and diverse collection that's both visually striking and historically meaningful. And because Europa stamps are so well documented and appreciated internationally, they often retain or even increase their value over time, especially when kept in excellent condition. At Stamps Old World UK, we encourage collectors to look beyond rarity and into the story a stamp tells. The 2021 Serbia Saker Falcon issue is a perfect example of how modern stamps can embody national pride, environmental urgency, and artistic mastery. Its value today may be just a few dollars, but its impact, culturally, ecologically, and aesthetically, is far greater. We believe this is the future of philately, connecting people not just to postal history, but to real-world issues, beautiful designs, and global perspectives. Next up, a 1980 Europa stamp depicting none other than the iconic General Post Office in Dublin, one of the most symbolically powerful buildings in Irish history. This beautiful stamp, issued with a value of 30 pence, captures more than just a post office. It encapsulates the spirit of Irish nationalism, the rise of a modern state, and the shared ideals of European unity. In this video, we'll take a deep dive into the design, historical background, philatelic importance, and current market value of this Irish Europa issue. Whether you're a dedicated philatelist, a lover of Irish heritage, or someone looking to start their own stamp collection, this video offers insights, context, and a renewed appreciation for the value these little paper artifacts carry. The first thing that stands out about this stamp is the architecture. At the center is the General Post Office, or GPO, in Dublin, rendered in classical lines against a richly textured blue background. Atop the building proudly flies the Irish tricolour, green, white, and orange, a symbol of unity and peace between different traditions within Ireland. The building's neo-classical facade is faithfully illustrated, showing its grand columns and symmetrical design. What may seem to some as just a postal headquarters is, in fact, a national monument. The GPO was the command center for the leaders of the 1916 Easter Rising, an armed insurrection aimed at ending British rule in Ireland. The stamp doesn't explicitly mention this event, but for any Irish person or historian, the image alone evokes that monumental chapter in Irish history. Above the building, we see the word Europa and the emblem of the CEPT, the European Conference of Postal and Telecommunications Administrations. This marks the stamp as part of the Europa series, a collaborative European tradition dating back to 1956 in which multiple countries issue stamps each year based on a shared theme. The Europa stamps of 1980 were themed around famous buildings, and each participating nation selected a structure of cultural or political importance. Ireland's decision to feature the General Post Office was more than a design choice. It was a statement of identity, linking its turbulent path to independence with its commitment to European cooperation and peaceful progress. From a collector's standpoint, Europa stamps have always been highly sought after. They offer a unique opportunity to collect a wide range of stamps from different countries, all issued in the same year, with a common theme but distinct cultural expressions. The 1980 Europa series is particularly cherished because of its architectural focus. Collectors of buildings, monuments, or postal history themes regard this year's issues as highly collectible. Ireland's GPO stamp, in particular, is often included in thematic collections focusing on revolution, national identity, or post office architecture. Its emotional weight and historical context set it apart from other European issues of the same year. Now let's talk about the market value of this stamp in today's terms. As of 2025, the 1980 Air Europa 30p GPO stamp in mint condition, meaning it has never been used and retains its full gum, typically sells for between $1.50 to $4 USD. For a used copy, you can expect the market value to be around 50 cents to $1.50, depending on the clarity and appeal of the postmark. However, the stamp becomes more valuable when presented in a Europa set from 1980, especially if it includes mint stamps from other CEPT countries. Complete mint sets of Europa 1980 stamps can sell for $20 to $40, depending on condition and presentation. First day covers featuring this stamp, especially those postmarked in Dublin and featuring commemorative cachets, can reach prices of $6 to $10 or more, due to their historical and thematic interest. But the importance of this stamp is not simply in its monetary value. It's in the story it tells. The General Post Office isn't just a piece of architecture, it is a living monument to Irish independence. It still bears bullet holes from the 1916 uprising, and it continues to serve as a functioning post office and cultural site. By placing this building on a Europa stamp, Ireland honored both its national story and its place within the larger European community. For collectors, this adds layers of meaning. The stamp becomes a bridge between the past and present, between national pride and continental unity. What also elevates the collectible value of this stamp is the aesthetic and print quality. Irish stamps of the late 1970s and early 1980s were known for their precise, clean printing and their effective use of color and symbolism. This issue is no exception. The contrast between the blue sky and the pale cream of the GPO creates a striking visual effect. The tricolor flag is just a small detail, but it adds dynamism and focus. The stamp was printed by the Irish government printers, who were at the time among the most reliable and accurate producers of fine stamps in Western Europe. In the broader scope of stamp collecting, Europa stamps continue to grow in popularity. While some collectors chase after ultra-rare errors or high-value classics like the Penny Black or Zeppelin issues, others find lasting enjoyment and challenge in collecting Europa series by year, country, or theme. The 1980 edition stands out as one of the most cohesive and artistic years of the series, and this Air issue plays a central role in that narrative. For young collectors, or those just starting out, Europa stamps provide an affordable and educational introduction to both philately and European history. For seasoned collectors, they offer continuity and depth, a structured challenge with emotional and cultural reward. Here at Stamps Old World UK, we always encourage collectors to look for more than just price tags. Ask yourself, what does this stamp represent? What story does it tell? What values, hopes, or memories are preserved in its tiny frame? The 1980 Air Europa stamp featuring the GPO is a perfect example of a stamp that may seem modest in market value, but is rich in historical and emotional worth. It serves as a quiet but powerful reminder of Ireland's long journey toward independence, and of its ongoing commitment to peace, unity, and communication, values that align perfectly with the Europa mission. Next up, the Europa 1 shilling and sixpence stamp featuring Queen Elizabeth II, issued to mark a major European conference in the 1960s. This is not just a stamp, it is a powerful emblem of unity, post-war rebuilding, royal pride, and timeless design. Whether you are a seasoned philatelist or just beginning your stamp collecting adventure, this stamp stands out as a beautiful symbol of an important moment in both British and European postal history. In this detailed video, we will explore the history behind the stamp, its design and production, its purpose and cultural significance, and its market value in today's dollars. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this in-depth look at one of the UK's most admired mid-century commemorative stamps. This striking stamp was released by the British Post Office in the year 1960, during a pivotal time in European history. Just 15 years after the end of World War II, Europe was still healing, rebuilding, and attempting to forge stronger ties between nations. Out of this need for peace, stability, and cooperation, a number of initiatives were formed, including the Conference of European Postal and Telecommunications Administrations, often abbreviated as CEPT. This organization was tasked with unifying and improving communication systems across the continent, ensuring countries could better coordinate their postal networks and telecommunication technologies. As part of this broader mission of unity, member countries decided to issue a set of stamps that would share a common design and promote the idea of a more connected Europe. The UK's contribution to this joint issue is what we are exploring today, the Europa 1/6 stamp. What makes this stamp so impressive is not just its backstory, but its beautiful and meaningful design. The left side of the stamp features the word Europa in bold white letters, stretched across a blue background. At the center of the O in Europa is a rose-colored gear wheel. With its multiple spokes, represents both industry and cooperation, many different parts working together in unison, just like the countries of Europe were hoping to do. Surrounding this image are elegant white scroll banners with the full title of the event, Conference of European Postal and Telecommunications Administrations. This design reflects ambition, unity, and a shared vision for Europe's future. On the right side of the stamp, in a deep reddish-brown oval frame, is the image of Queen Elizabeth II, wearing her royal crown and regal attire. The portrait used is based on the famous Dorothy Wilding photographic portrait of Her Majesty, and it carries with it the authority, stability, and dignity of the British monarchy. The use of red and blue, bold, contrasting colors, gives the stamp a noble presence, while the combination of royal and industrial elements symbolizes Britain's role in both tradition and modern progress. The original face value of the stamp was 1 shilling and 6 pence, a common mid-range postage value at the time, equivalent to 18 old pence in the British pre-decimal currency system. This would have been used for heavier letters or international mail, which makes sense considering the stamp's international theme. It was not part of the everyday definitive series but rather a commemorative issue, which means fewer copies were printed compared to standard stamps. That makes this issue relatively more valuable and desirable among collectors today, particularly those with an interest in Europa stamps, royal stamps, or British postal history. Fast forward to the present day, and we find that the Europa 1/6 stamp remains a staple in many collections, admired not just for its design, but for the historical moment it represents. In today's stamp market, its value depends heavily on condition, rarity, and presentation. A mint, never-hinged version of this stamp, meaning it is unused and has full original gum with no damage, typically sells for around $5 to $15. However, if the stamp is in exceptional condition with perfect centering, vibrant colors, and fresh gum, its value can rise to $20 or even $30, especially if purchased by collectors who specialize in Europa or Queen Elizabeth II stamps. Used stamps, meaning they were affixed to mail and postmarked, generally sell for less, around $1 to $5, depending on how clean and attractive the cancellation mark is. A lightly cancelled stamp with no tears or creases might still appeal to collectors of postally used issues. Beyond individual stamps, collectors often seek this issue in other formats. First-day covers, which are envelopes franked with the stamp and cancelled on its first day of issue, can be especially valuable. These are usually decorated with printed designs or cachets that reflect the stamp's theme. A clean, well-preserved first-day cover featuring the January 6 Europa stamp can sell for $10 to $25 or more, depending on the design, condition, and rarity of the cachet. If you're lucky enough to own a presentation pack, which includes the stamp along with an official card and background information, that can raise the value even further, sometimes up to $30 or $40. Full sheets or blocks of this stamp in mint condition can also attract a premium, especially if they are well-centered and free from folds or gum disturbance. What adds further value to this stamp is the legacy of Queen Elizabeth II. As the longest reigning monarch in British history, she appeared on more postage stamps than any other person in history. After her passing in 2022, interest in her earlier stamps surged across the global philatelic market. Collectors have turned their attention to her mid-century issues, which represent a golden era of British stamp design. This particular Europa stamp, featuring one of her most iconic early portraits, is now seen as an important part of the Queen's philatelic legacy. As time goes on, and as fewer of these stamps remain in pristine condition, its value is expected to increase steadily. Collectors are advised to preserve their copies carefully, keeping them in acid-free albums or protective sleeves to avoid damage. One more thing to consider is the thematic strength of this stamp. It appeals to multiple types of collectors: those who collect royal stamps, those who collect British stamps, those who collect Europa issues, and even topical collectors who focus on international cooperation or engineering symbolism. That broad appeal gives this stamp a unique position in the global market. Online auction sites such as eBay and Delcamp regularly list this stamp in various conditions, and you can observe that well-listed items tend to sell quickly. At stamp fairs, exhibitions, and club meetings, this stamp often attracts attention from collectors who appreciate both its aesthetics and its story. In conclusion, the Europa 16 Queen Elizabeth II stamp is not only a beautiful collectible but also a meaningful piece of postal history. It captures a vision of a more unified Europe during a critical point in time, while also showcasing the elegance and continuity of the British monarchy. Its artistic design, commemorative status, and rising market value make it a treasured item for philatelists all over the world. Whether you're an experienced collector or just starting out, this stamp is a must-have addition to any serious collection. As more collectors rediscover the charm of mid-20th century issues, stamps like this will only become more valuable and more sought after. Thank you for spending time with us here on Stamps Old World UK. If you enjoyed this deep dive into a truly historic stamp, please don't forget to like the video, leave a comment sharing your thoughts or your own experiences with Europa stamps, and subscribe to the channel for more stories from the world of stamps. We are passionate about sharing the hidden gems of philately and bringing stamp history to life. Until next time, happy collecting, and may your albums always be filled with treasures from the old world.